And what is up, everyone? I am Joe DeHoyos. I'm host of Beyond the Woodline. Real quick before we get started, I'd always talk to you guys about what it is that I do in my own little spare time here. Um, for you guys who don't know, I am the executive director of the Judging Research Group, which is also known as the JRG. We're a Bigfoot research group, and we're created and founded by William Jevning, which is this guy's been in the field close to 50 years now, and he was really good friends with Renee DeHenden and John Green, who were two of the pioneers in the Bigfoot world. Um, really, really great guy. It's really no nonsense. So if you guys are interested in helping out and doing some research, doing some investigations with us, we have teams in Washington, Oregon, West Virginia, Maryland, Michigan, Florida, Ohio, Tennessee, New York State, Minnesota, and of course here in Texas, where I'm at. Um, we accept all walks of life, everyone from different backgrounds. We don't expect everyone to want to get out into the field. That's not for everyone, and some people just don't like to go out. In the summertime, I don't go out at all. I used to, but the last 2 summers, I'm just getting too old for this heat. So uh, I'll go out again when it gets cooler weather, like in October. And if, like I said, if that's not for you, that's fine. You can help us out. You can do your research from the computer, from your laptop, your cell phone. You can find witnesses. You can find places. Um, look up the history of locations, and even if you just want to give us suggestions on techniques on how to research, we really appreciate that too. So if you're interested, just hit me up beyond.woodline@gmail.com, and we'll get you guys situated, and yeah, we'll find some good people in your area. And if you're in a state where I said we don't have a team, we have people in there that we network with, so we can always find you somebody to go out with. And enough of me talking, because I know you guys don't tune in to hear me ramble off at the mouth. I have with me Tiffany and Megan, and we're waiting for Rhonda. Hopefully, she can make it on. And Tiffany and Megan, you guys are with Transcend Paranormal. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing
Good. How
good.
about you?
Good, good. Um, yeah, if you guys don't mind, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and uh, what got you started into the paranormal? And then, Tiffany, you want to go first?
Sure. Let's see. My name's Tiffany. I'm from Virginia. I have been in the paranormal field for about 15 years or so. What really got me started in the paranormal was what I believe it got me into it, I guess I should have said, is my first paranormal experience at 5 years old, seeing my grandfather, who died when I was three, walking down the hallway. Of course, it scared me, but I knew after that some little things would happen around the house and stuff like that. And I guess that's just always kind of fueled it. And I mean, thankfully, as you grow older and everything, your parents are like, oh, ghosts aren't real, that whole spiel. And thankfully, my mother never tried to put it in my head, oh, you're just seeing things, they're not real, things like that. So she always supported anything if I was like, oh, I think I saw something. It wasn't any, oh, you're just daydreaming, anything like that. So I think, that's what really started it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of similar with me. I was always into all this stuff as a kid, and uh, my parents, they never like told me to shut up. They entertained my silliness, and they were really supportive. And my father, he loved all this weird stuff, and he would always watch, like a search of it when it would come on, and he'd call me. I would be outside playing, and he'd call me, "Hey, come here, check it out. This show's on. They're trying to talk about this today." So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What about you, Megan? What got you started in this crazy field?
As a kid, my parents used to watch the X-Files, and I absolutely loved that. So that kind of jump started it. And then growing up and then getting into a lot of fantasy literature, that fueled a lot of it. And then just kind of went away from it, didn't really do anything with it. And then I moved to Cumberland, Virginia, which is right outside of Powhatan. And I worked for a lady that owned a horse farm, and it was very secluded. It was back off the road, just very just very farm life. She was very much so into tarot and Ouija and just the whole metaphysical side of life. So then that's when I just kind of nosedived into a lot of reading about it, learning a lot about tarot, how to read tarot. But what jump started wanting to learn more about the paranormal is I heard a whistler. I was home alone one night and I heard a very distinct whistle. And when you're back in the woods on a horse farm, kind of in the middle of nowhere, that's a little scary. So that kind of fueled it a little bit more. Time went on. Then my brother became very close friends with Steve Dills, and I got to hanging out and went to a couple investigations, and I got hooked from that side of it.
Cool. Do you still do your tarot cards? Do you still read them?
I do. Yep.
Really? That's
Sure do.
that's pretty cool. And
Yep.
so, like, how long have you been doing that in particular, the tarot?
Probably since 09, 08, 09. And I actively read, but I don't like to publicly read, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I got my first deck of tarot. I think it was 2 years ago, uh, and maybe about a year before that, I got my first deck of Oracle. I started out with Oracle first,
Okay.
and it's like in 2019 I started this whole journey that I'm on, right? And if you had told me, I would have had crystals and tarot cards and pendulums and um, all this other, sage. I would have told you were crazy. But I had an experience, and it kind of woke me up a little bit. I hate to use that word, woke me up, right? But it did, and it opened me up to so much more stuff, and that's where I got the name Beyond the Woodline, coming from a Bigfoot researcher, and saying, well, there's more beyond the woodline, and. So that's yeah. So like I said, 4 years ago, you would have told me I would have had these tarot cards behind me and the oracle cards, like I said, and I got pendulums and crystals, the sage. I would have told you were crazy, but here I am, right? Here I am. I just
Perfect.
dove deep into it, and I'm still learning about the tarot cards. I have trouble reading those. The oracle cards I'm pretty good at, but the tarot cards kind of give me trouble. But little
Right.
by little, right?
Right. Yep.
And Rhonda, how are you doing, Rhonda? I'm glad you could join the show.
I'm I don't know what was going on. It was not working. It was working at first, and then it was like, no, you're not going to be on there. You don't need to do that. So I'm using my phone. It wouldn't let me use my iPad.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you involved in all this crazy paranormal stuff?
I've always, like I said, I've always been interested. Nothing really well, I mean, I guess I can say some stuff happened when I was younger. And I would hear stuff in the house, and I knew the house was built, like my mom and dad had built the house, so I mean, I know, but it was the land, and stuff had happened. We would hear things walking up and down the hallway. You'd hear stuff in the kitchen, like ransacking the kitchen, open the door, would be nobody there. And, that happened to my sister at first, and I'm like, oh, you're crazy. But then it happened to me, and everybody knows that I love to ghost investigate. But if you come up behind me and tap me on the shoulder, I'm like the cat from Looney Tunes. I'm on the ceiling. So it takes every bit of nerve. I had to open the damn door to see if there was anybody in the kitchen, like ransacking it, because that's exactly what it sounded like. But it wasn't. And come to find out, I grew up in Matoka, which is it's a country town right outside of Petersburg. Well, lots of Civil War happened on the land, lots of Native Americans on the land. So this is before I knew what I could personally see and hear and feel. And my cousin, she came over and we were walking because my daughter was having a hard time sleeping in her room, which was my sister's room at the time, and stuff had always happened in there also. But she said it was two Confederate soldiers out in our cornfield. So, and that's kind of makes sense. What you heard ransacking the kitchen, you know, it could have been soldiers ransacking the kitchen. But, you know, little things like that would happen. But I was always the weird one who was always interested in it. And it just came to me. Like, things would come to me and, like, you can talk to me, and I know you can. And I didn't know it at the time. And I'm like, whatever. But yeah. And then what the funniest part is, what got me into a ghost group is when I had my first son. Oh, Steve's going to talk about the dolls. So when I had my first son, I joined a mommy group. And with that mommy group, there was a lady in there, and she did it as a hobby, ghost. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I've always been interested in stuff like that. So we went to the Bird Theater for the first time. And the first time I actually had full-on interaction with a little girl in the basement. I mean, in the bathroom downstairs. And the Bird Theater is an old movie theater in Richmond, Virginia. And she grabbed hold of me, and they were like pointing the temperature gun at me. And like the side where she was reaching for, like holding on to me, was like in the mid to low 60s, and then the other side was normal. So that's how I got into it. And then we ended up going to OSPH, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee. They had a haunted Valentine weekend, and that is how I met up with Mr. Steve Dills, and the rest is history. So I've been doing officially ghost hunting for, my son is 15, so yeah, about 15 years with the group. But you know, I was the weird one. I dabbled in it all my life. So
Right. Yeah. We'll join the club. You know, I was the weird one too. But
yay.
so okay, well, Steve already, you know, opened the door on these haunted dolls. So you gotta tell us about the haunted dolls.
Well, I have plenty of haunted dolls now. Let's see, do I have any in? I would have to go get a couple. But okay, so with the haunted dolls, I had this was, what did he say?
Yeah, Steve says the only reason I met Rhonda is because she had a pallet jack to carry in all her shit. We were there for the weekend, but I'm fairly certain someone packed for a month.
You never know what the hell you're gonna need.
Exactly.
I don't know what I'm gonna come across.
They pick on Rhonda and I whenever we go places because we pack a lot of stuff. But like Rhonda said, you never know what you're gonna need. I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared.
whole house.
It's a lily.
Well, I have a confession to make. As a guy, I
You
pack
rent
a
a
lot
small
of stuff.
U-Haul too?
Yeah, I pack a lot of stuff.
See?
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you something else. What freaks people out, I also like shopping, and I've got a boatload of shoes. So there you go.
Oh my God, we're best friends.
Yeah, I got so
Did
many.
we just become best friends?
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah, did we just become best friends? Right? Yeah. So what was like one of your first haunted dolls?
As a little figurine, his name is Luke, and I, you know, like I said, this was before this whole haunted doll situation got so out of, I don't know if I can cuss or not, so I'll try to be PG. But you know, before it all got out of hand, so I was like, I'm gonna try it, and I got like a little haunted doll, like a porcelain doll. His name was Luke, and we were at a it was a Confederate hospital. It was called Graffiti House. It's out in Culpeper. And we were doing an EVP session, and I had Luke sitting on the glass case in the middle of the room, and we were all introducing ourselves. And then when you play back the EVP, after you hear everybody investigate, I introduce ourselves. You hear a little tiny male, little boy voice go, "And Luke."
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So that was cool. And then, no, my one haunted doll, you know what? I might have to go get him. But his name is Peyton. And I was winning him on eBay. And then some lady swooped in and got him at the last minute.
Oh.
And I was I was like really pissed. But, you know, things happen. Oh, well.
Right.
Well, about 2 weeks later, the lady who was selling him messaged me and said that Peyton was coming to live with me. And I was like, why? I was like, I thought the lady had won him. And she said, well, I guess she didn't really believe in the whole haunted doll thing. So she's like, she messaged me. She messaged the lady, her name was AJ. And she still has her haunted dolls, AJ's haunted dolls. But she's like, she messaged me and said, I don't know who this Rhonda girl is, but she can have this damn doll. Because I'm tired of being woken up in the middle of the night going, you're not my real mommy. Rhonda's my real mommy. I want to go live with Rhonda. She's like, I don't even want my money back. Just send her this damn doll. And that is how Peyton came to live with me.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So I have probably about, well, I had more than what I do now. So now I probably have about 80.
oh wow.
I had a lot more, but I kind of got spooked years and years ago. We had gone to this location called Swananoa, and there's this cabin in the back that was like really freaky, and I think that scared me, the stuff that was happening. And that's a whole nother story there. I mean, I could do a podcast just for tonight. Like, y'all wouldn't even talk to anybody else. It would just be me. But I'll condense it. But yeah, so I got rid of a lot of dolls that I got rid of probably close to 50. But all my dolls are they're old vintage. You know, some of them are German, like the doll mohair or whatever. And so yeah. But I only like the ones that have children.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a friend of mine.
I don't like.
I got a friend of mine. She also gets dolls. I think she gets them off of eBay too. So I wonder if it's the same person.
Well, you know, I come to find out now that it's a market for it, people are going to just throw the most elaborate stories out there, and the doll ain't got nothing attached to him.
Right.
But you know, but it's like the most elaborate stories in the world, and it ain't going to be nothing attached to it.
Right. Yeah. Nothing
at all. But here's one of them. I've got one in here. Let's see. Oh, come here, little ladybug. Here's one.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
She cute?
Yeah, real cute. Yeah.
Yeah. Strong note.
Yeah.
Oh, I could go. I got more and more and more. We could do a podcast just on my dolls, introducing them all.
What about you, Megan? You have any haunted or attached items?
No, not that I know of specifically. I do have an original Ouija board in the box, and the cardboard, everything's original. The lady in Cumberland gifted it to me when I moved away. So I do have that. And I have an old like World War II Army foot locker chest thing. Bunch of antique furniture, but I can't say anything would be like, yeah, there's something attached to that now. I don't think so.
I bet it is.
What about you, Tiffany? Do you have any haunted or items with an attachment?
She's too scared.
Not that I know of. I have something from my great aunt and great uncle when I think they lived in New York, and a lot of ledgers where they had their bills and stuff, where they made the payments and things like that. I have a few things like that, but nothing that I think has anything attached to it.
Yeah, there's a little antique shop right around the corner from my house, and he's got diaries from like the 1800s, and these guys.
Oh, so cool.
They talk about having issues with other miners and stuff like that, and with their claims and stuff. So I always wanted to get one of those diaries.
Let's see if I can show you this real quick. Let's see if I can turn around that picture right there. See
right.
That one right there. That is a little. I don't know. Anyway, so that was at an antique store, and I saw it and I fell in love with it. And I'm like, how much for the picture? Because I mean, the frame is worth something. Just not even the picture, just the frame. But he's like, so he's like, I don't know how much you believe in this, like ghost and stuff. And I got to giggle, and I said, well, try me. He said, well, it doesn't actually belong to me. It belongs to a lady at my church. She said, but she gave it to me because she knows I do antiques. But she said, just put it in your antique shop. And she's like, all I want is like $20 for it. She said, because my grandson is scared to come over anymore because he said, Grandma, please tell the little boy in the picture to stop playing with me. Or tell him to stop asking to play with me. I don't want to play with him anymore. So supposedly the little boy that's in that picture right there tried to play with her grandson. So she had to get rid of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Megan's like, nope. So,
Megan, it can come live with you.
So
No, I'm good.
Hard pass.
So
Housewarming.
let me ask you this: have you guys ever been anywhere where it's an investigation or just somewhere private on your own that you've been like legit scared? And Megan, let's start with you on that one, Megan.
Steve Dills.
Where to begin?
Legitimately
Yeah.
scared. That would be Sweet Springs. I mean, we debunked what happened,
Oh,
but it
crazy.
like out of your skin, scared. Absolutely.
I don't think we ever debunked that. I don't think that's what it was. I think it was more to it.
It was perfect timing.
I think that's what it was.
So what?
But it encased us.
What were you scared
Yeah, it
of?
did.
What made you scared?
We were asking questions and asking for responses, and we got a very loud, very abrupt response. And we were all close enough to it to be able to like jump back from it. And then we all just kind of like huddled together until we could figure out what it was. But yeah, scariest moment there for sure.
Okay.
That was the night we heard all the screams too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like audible screams.
Yes.
What
that
about
place
you,
is
Tiffany?
insane. That's
definitely gosh. Actually, it's hard because I've been so many places to really pick one. Okay, I'm just gonna go with the one that I always say. The USS North Carolina.
Okay.
So I was with another team, and we had rented out the USS North Carolina for the night. So, excuse me. So Steve is distracting now. So that was actually where I saw, like, as an older, adult, saw another full-bodied apparition there. I saw a sailor, but that evening we had just finished up the investigation, realized we left a recorder down in the mess hall, and the mess hall is down in the hull of the ship. So me and another investigator had to go down. And of course, all the lights are off. You've only got just like those emergency lights, and then you've got like the ship holes that you got to go through. So he and I go down, and of course, like, we felt like we were being watched the entire time. We find the recorder, and once we start to leave the mess hall, it's like somebody is banging on the side of the ship, like constantly banging. So all you hear is this metallic banging as you're like walking through. Finally, I started running and like hurtling through these doors, left Jonathan behind me, and of course he had no flashlight, and he was like, I can't see. So I'm holding the flashlight up behind me for him to see behind me, but I left him clearly in my dust. I'm also not a smoker. In that evening when we got off, I asked my friend for a cigarette because I was like, yeah, I need a cigarette after that. But of course, like Steve said, St. Albans, but I know Megan, Rhonda, and I could probably go on for hours with all the experiences that we've had that's kind of freaked us out.
Y'all, the only thing that freaks me out is y'all. Y'all scare me. The ghosts don't scare me, but they
Well,
screw
yeah,
with me, and that's what scares me.
That's mostly Steve, Chris, and Zach, though.
They scare the hell out of me. And
They do.
I mean, I can sit in the room in the dark talking to, if I'm even talking to anybody. But like I said, they'll come around the corner, they'll hide around the corner, or they'll pretend they're a shadow figure at the end of the goddamn hallway. And I was so convinced. I said, "Oh my God, I can see it so clearly now." But it was not. It was Steve, the shadow man. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can say it's easy to say, "Oh, I don't get scared," but like I said, they scare the hell out of me. But you get startled a little bit. I'm like, "Oh shit, what the hell is that?" But I think the only thing that really scared me that one time I was at OSPH. No, I was at Trans-Allegheny. I was at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and we were up on, I think, 3rd floor, where the day room is at the end of the hallway. And they were getting ready to talk about the, I don't know what they were called, patient, inmate, whatever. Anyway, he was a deaf mute, and he was impaled because he wouldn't shut up. And 2 other patients stabbed him or impaled him with a bed railing. So you could see somebody at the end of the hallway pacing, and this is like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So it's pitch black in there, no electricity. And you see a wind turbine, at the end of the hallway. You're looking at this wind turbine in the very back. But you can tell there's a actual full-on figure in front of the wind turbine, like pacing. And this man had just sat there and told this guy's whole story. And then he was a newbie. So he's like, "Oh, no." He's like, "I forgot to ask permission." He's like, "They said they don't really like me. They don't like him talking about his story unless you ask permission." And he did not. Well, you could sit there and see this guy. And I mean, you've seen, like, when you're watching Ghost Adventures or whatever, and when they do the reenactments and they show the ghost like pacing, and then it like comes charging a little bit and draws back, and when they do the reenactment. Hey, what the hell was that?
Don't mind me.
What did you do?
I was doing something on my phone and the live came up.
Okay, I was like, why am I hearing myself? I didn't do anything. But you saw it charging, and about the same time that thing, whoever he was, if that was even him, came charging at you, something behind me in one of the rooms, he slammed the door as loud as he could. Yeah, that scared the hell out of me, because I'd never been there, and I was by myself that night, because like the easiest way to investigate Trans-Allegheny, if you don't have a group, and I had a group, but I was up there for a family fall festival. They have a fall festival in the grounds of Trans-Allegheny, but they do overnight investigations for like $100. So I was in there with a bunch of locals, and I was the only one with the equipment, and they pretty much put me in charge of a group, and I didn't know anything about the damn place. So, I had people screaming and running, and I'm like trying to hold it. I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know what the hell's happening." But yeah, I mean, that's when it's just, I have plenty, but I won't keep going.
So, what's one of y'all's favorite places or that you guys have been to as a group together?
I do love St. Albans.
Sweet Springs, definitely.
Yeah, Sweet Springs. I want to go back to Sweet Springs. We had some insane activity for the 2 nights we were at Sweet Springs. We had a, so you know how they have like the doors that open, they don't open and shut on their own, but they have like the hydraulic systems in there to close the doors themselves. So Steve and I had just walked back to this one area, and the door shut, and we heard the door shut. We get about like 10 feet from the door opens and shuts again. Then we finish up the investigation in that area, and then we go back, and I turned around because I was one of the first people up the stairs, and I turned around to make sure I wasn't walking down this hallway all by myself, and I noticed the doors were shut. So I turn around, and everybody's facing to go up the stairs, and we hear the doors open and shut again. So for our first 2 nights in that location, it did not disappoint.
What about you guys? Y'all have some good experiences there, Megan?
Yeah, yes. That's where the story of being absolutely terrified came.
I didn't even. That was great.
Yeah.
When I went to Sweet Springs, I had only been maybe a handful of other places, so it was a rather new experience for me at something so large and vast, and having essentially free reign of it with just the team. That was phenomenal. But I would just say like the palpable energy that's in that place. And it's not only just in like where the hospital ward was and the general building, where the actual spring is. There's a lot of tangible energy just in that space too. So it was neat to be able to see something like
I'll be
that
right
and
back.
then imagine and then imagine how it was, when it was in its prime. Where I live now, there was a hotel that was here before it caught on fire that was very much so like Sweet Springs. It was like a go-to destination, caught on fire, town went down, whatever. But it reminded me a lot of that place. But just in general, the whole place has got energy from one end of it to the other.
So what's the place that you guys want to go back to?
Sweet Springs.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to Penhurst too, and
Oh God,
actually
yes,
like
Penhurst. How could I?
really
That
like be
place
there
is-
at night. Like daytime was cool, but wow.
Yeah, I think we all had in our minds what we thought the scale of the building was. And
Yeah.
we pulled up, and I think all of our jaws dropped when we pulled up because we did
Yes.
not expect what we saw. And
Yes.
the thing is also, it was only on half of the land that it used to be on.
Yes.
So there was way more than what we saw when we went last month.
Yes.
And Henricus is great too. There's a place
Yes.
down here called Henricus Park, and it's the second permanent English settlement, besides Jamestown. And we go there quite a lot. We do our annual Halloween events there. We do overnights there. It's a really active location, kind of freaky, especially at night when you're sleeping in the Indian village and they're telling you the Pukwudgies coming to get you and you're scared to death.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's a nice
Little
active location. And a member of our team, he helps run that location. So pretty much we could always call him up and be like, John, we want to investigate. All right, guys, come stay the night with me here.
And see,
That's
you're
good.
into like the woods and Bigfoot and everything. Okay, so there is, you know what, I take it back. There is this one time that I was terrified, okay? So we were doing an investigation. It was a public investigation at a church, and it's called, oh my God, why can't I not Brandy Station? The church is,
Fleetwood.
Fleetwood Church, and they did the Battle of Brandy Station. Well, there's the ruins of an old church, St. James Church. I love hawks. Hawks are my spirit animal. So people have been coming to me all day telling me there were hawk feathers up at this St. James Church, the ruins. Well, I was like, oh, that's cool. So, I mean, we got to go up there tonight, so maybe I'll find some. So I have a group with me, and we stop at this, and it's at nighttime as we're walking, and me and Steve cross paths, and he's like, hey, Rhonda, heads up, there's some coyotes up here. We've been hearing them all night. And I was like, all right, that's cool, whatever. So keep going, and we stop to read the pedestal, and it's, like a marker describing the church and everything. And at the time I hear, the brush being pressed down around you. And I was like, did y'all hear that? But, I kind of dismiss it because, you're in the woods. It's nighttime. There's animals everywhere. So I didn't think nothing about it. But what I did not hear, and what one of the girls, she had been videotaping, she had like a chest thing like a cop would wear. And she sends it to me the next night or the next couple nights months later. But when I said, "Did y'all hear that?" I did not hear at the time was something. It was a low growl. It was already growling. It was already pacing, and didn't think nothing about it. Still walking the clearing, got an EVP going, trying to listen, and I'm still intent on finding these hawk feathers. And we get to almost the opening, and one of the girls that was one of the guests, and she's like, "Rhonda, there's somebody over here looking at me by the tree." And I'm like, "What?" And I stop and look, and when I stopped, the temperature dropped easily 10 to 15 degrees, just like that, degrees, easily just like that. And the wind picked up a little bit, and I'm like, well, that's weird. I don't think there's a storm coming. And I'm steadily walking, still not picking up on any of the clues. And as I got to this one certain spot, I heard the biggest growl. It sounded like the biggest coyote or a wolf or whatever was going to be right facing me. When it charged, it had like it felt like a strength of a herd of buffalo coming at you. I turned into Shaggy from Scooby Doo. I mowed everybody down. I took off running. One of the girls ran with me. Everybody heard it. This is all on video. Turned around. I'm thinking, once I got to a certain spot, I turned around. I was like, all right, there's going to be something staring me down. There was nothing there. There was nothing whatsoever. You felt the rush of it. Well, the next night, one of the investigators who investigates up there all the time, and he asked me, he was like, "Hey, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, but what the hell was that?" So he started talking about like wolves, and then I said, like a dire wolf? He's like, "Mm-mm." He's like, "I don't know if you really, what you think about like, Wendigos and stuff." I was like, "Wendigos? Whatever. I thought if a Wendigo came at you, you didn't live. You did not, live to hear about the rest of anything." And he said, "Well, it was kind of like a warning because it was like an open house. So people had been in and out of the woods all day long. I guess it was just tired of people walking through its area. And then, my clueless ass is just walking right on into its house. And he was like, "Oh, you better back up." But yeah, that was the scariest. Yeah, probably the scariest thing I've ever experienced ever. I mean, I mowed everybody down. It was funny. It's funny now that you think about it. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's funny as hell. I'm like, what?
Oh, okay. So I do the Bigfoot thing. That's what I like to do the most. But I've had a ton of paranormal experience. In a different lifetime ago in a house I used to live in, we had so much activity. I mean, I had felt like the bed, like someone sitting on the bed. I thought it was my dog. I thought it was my dog trying to get on the bed. I had a big boxer at the time, so I thought it was him. And I would sit up and tell him, like, "Get your ass off the bed," And there was nobody there. Then one morning I was getting ready for work, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I felt somebody like jab me in the ribs. Yeah, how you mess with each other and you kind of like poke each other in the ribs. That same exact feeling. Uh, I saw a figure walking across the living room, one across the kitchen. My kids have all seen something too, and my son actually saw some movement out of the right corner of his eye, and he saw this figure. It's like a smoky gray figure. He said he saw it squatting down, and it reached out with its finger, and it touched him on his arm.
God.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in the shower one day, and I felt like someone rubbed their finger down my spine.
Oh, that's crazy.
You had a shower friend.
Rhonda would have been Scooby Dooing out of the shower.
Yeah.
He's
My
like, "You
cousin
just
did.
dropped your loofah."
My cousin did some work on the house, and when he came over, I had a bunch of my other cousins. All us Mexicans, we all know our cousins who can do something right. And as he was talking about what he was going to do, he kept looking at his arm, and eventually he walked across the kitchen, and he grabbed my arm, and he squeezed it really tight. He goes, "Look, this is what it feels like. I feel like someone was grabbing my arm." The next morning when he came in to start working, he had 4 fingerprint bruises on his arm.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I think it was and we think it was the previous owners. that lived there. They were the only owners of that house. Uh, the showers would come on, the kitchen's faucet would come on,
Wow.
doors would open, and not only would like the doors would open, but they would crack, and you could see like somebody looking in the crack like that.
Oh hell
Oh,
no!
wow.
Hell no!
Yeah, but it was never scary. I mean, it was unnerving and it freaked us out for sure, right?
Mhm.
And but it was never like to us like it was trying to scare us,
Like somebody was
So
kind of watching over
yeah,
you.
I woke up one morning like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I saw this shadow figure standing right over my bed, and I even threw a kick at it. Uh, and it was and it was a woman. I could tell it was a woman by the shape, and she had like a dress on, but it still freaked me out.
You kicked her.
It- yeah, I think I'm the first person to do karate on a ghost.
I love it.
But it was a good house, and from what I hear, there's still activity in that house today.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Well, let's go.
Um,
Let's go
yes.
investigate it.
I lived in a house for a short period of time that was a part of a Civil War hospital. And it was a very old house. We couldn't even have AC in there. So, when you hear some of the elder folks talk about, I had to live in a house without AC, I'm like, I might be young, but yes, I did too at one point. So we had just like one of the like propane stoves because there was no like central heat in that house either. So the main living room was where the heat was. Well, where this house is located, my mom's now ex-husband lived in the house in front of us, and we were renting the house behind him. And then his parents lived house in front. It was just a whole hill that was that family. So she's over there staying the night while he is working night shift to be in the nice warm heat. And I was like, woohoo, I'm a teenager. I got the house to myself for the night. So I'm like leaning up against this heater, and my head's turned this way watching the TV, and I see a lady in white go right into the bathroom. I was like,
oh wow.
wow. And then my mom and I would hear other spirits. It was a female spirit call our names. Like she'd hear mom, mom, and of course I wouldn't answer. And then she'd come back, finally come downstairs and be like, what? And I'm like, I didn't call you. And then vice versa, I'd hear someone calling Tiff, Tiff. Finally go find my mom, and I'm like, what? I didn't call you.
Right.
So that was a very active house that we lived in.
Very cool.
You mentioned like the lady in white that you saw, and I know
Mhm.
people mention they see the lady in white. Do you think it was the same lady, or just somebody different?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting, because he had family die in that house too. So
Okay.
who knows?
Yeah. What about you, Megan? Have you ever seen any kind of apparitions or anything like that?
Um, shadow figures, like big ones, small ones, like really quick out of a doorway. Seen a shadow type figure more or less shift its way from a small child-like object to a very tall, dark hack man. Like if you imagine looking down a hallway and you're looking at the exit sign at the end of the hallway, like blocked out the exit sign. Like that's so tall. A lot of that. Recently, where were we? We were at St. Albans, and we were all coming down for a break. And this is the first time this has ever happened to me. And I was coming down the staircase more or less by myself. There was a couple people, and then the rest of them were upstairs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I came down the staircase, and I was on the inside, so I was holding the left hand the railing. And when I turned to go down the next set of stairs, it's exactly like I just walked into somebody. What is the best way to describe it? Like if you're walking, you've got your head down, you're reading something, you kind of bump into somebody. That's exactly how it was. And whatever I bumped into was just as aware of it as I was. Just kind of like, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. And then just kind of went on about the downstairs. When I came downstairs, I had a mental of what he looked like. It was definitely masculine. It was definitely someone that was employed there, not housed there. So I drew it really quickly, just to kind of keep the mental image in my head, and it more or less. He had something large with a braid on top of the head, like a short collared, double robed type of top. That's the one and only time I've ever, I would say, apparition. Seen anything that clearly interacted with it in a way that it kind of responded when we actually came in contact. But that I read a lot of tarot when we do like investigations or we go somewhere. I do bring a set of tarot cards and I will read them sometimes. But that's something that I guess I more or less vibe with the most. Like I've dabbled in runes and oracle cards and different books and mediumship and all those things. But tarot is really what I fall back to, and I feel like that speaks to me the most. So it's not always about seeing things. If you can tell a story because they want you to tell the story, that's more or less more satisfying than, oh, I saw a shadow real quick,
Yeah, I totally get that, especially like the meditation part. That's like one of the first things I started doing, right, was meditating.
Yep.
And I started this spiritual journey I was on. And there was twice that I got really, really heavy into it, where I saw a a man. I just call him a man. He was a big man with a jacket and a hat on. And yeah, he was. I saw him twice. It was the weirdest thing. And then you know, I would see like shapes and colors flying by. In my mind, it was kind of weird, but it was really cool. It's really cool. I haven't done it in a while, but I need to get
Yeah.
back into it.
Yes.
So when it comes to like abilities, you do have abilities, Megan?
I read tarot, and then I smell things, I sense things. I wouldn't narrow that down to a specific ability.
Right.
But tarot, that's my thing.
Okay. Well, you see, when you said smell, it's very rare that I hear someone say smell because I smell stuff too.
Oh yeah?
And yeah, I smell it like all the time. I'll be like, "Do you smell that? Doesn't it smell like,
Mhm.
like someone smoking a pipe?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "I'm telling you, someone's
Yes.
smoking a pipe." And then come to find out, there's a pipe story involved in
Mhm.
that area, or flowery smells, or even like perfume smells. I would smell that stuff all the time too. Yeah.
Yep.
So what about you, Rhonda? Do you have abilities?
Yeah. And at first I didn't think I did, I just thought it was a coincidence. Oh, that's weird. I was just thinking that, or, oh, and stuff like that would happen. We were what started it. We were, I don't know if, okay, so
It
we
was St.
were
Albans.
at, yeah, St. Albans where Pat was talking. Well, we were setting up and we had gone down to the basement and she was reading, and she stopped what she was doing and she looked at me and she's like, "You can read, can't you?" And I had a drink or two, so I was like, "Yeah, I can read. I went to school." And she's like, "No, you know what I mean." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." And she's like, and it was a long thing about that. And she's like, "You've got abilities. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Don't second guess yourself." Well, we were at this one location, and this is the first time that I had a spirit take me over. And I was in the basement, and I was sitting beside her dress form, and we were doing a EVP session. And I remember her touching the front of my hair like this, and I felt it. And then next thing I know, doing the EVP session, I was answering the EVPs like I knew what the hell I was talking about. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, but I was answering for her. And then I remember started sniffling. I remember thinking, "Oh my God, am I getting a cold?" But no, her emotions were taking me over. And that was the first. That was a whole night there. I mean, she pretty much took me over. They had to remove me from the location. I was trying my damnedest to get back down there to her. Tiffany, you got a little sprite behind you, like a little elf brownie. Little,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
One that
You've got a
named
ghost.
Aria.
You've got a ghost kid
Yeah.
behind you. So yeah,
Somebody that wants to be in on the action.
But when I go to
Oh,
locations now, they actually, people told me it's like I'm a lighthouse to them, that I have a light over my head on their side, and they're like, okay, she can understand me, she can hear me, she can talk to me, she can see me. So it's almost like they tell me their story in my head, and I just kind of play it back by talking about it. Things like that. They will come. They come to me at night while I'm sleeping. They'll tell me, like it was months ago. I was about 4 a.m, and I was half awake, half asleep. And they say, of course, 3 o'clock is the witching hour. 4 o'clock is when the veil is the thinnest. So it's like right before dawn. So 4 o'clock in the morning is when the veil is the thinnest. They can come at you, which they do. And I remember it was a man talking to me, and he was a soldier. He was telling me his name, his age, his rank, and everything. And, my dumbass didn't keep a journal beside me. So, of course, I forgot all that. And then right after that, a little boy was talking to me. Well, 3 days later, we had gone to a battlefield to do a private investigation. And I was talking to one of the investigators, and I was telling her about it because she took me out in the woods. Wanted to see if I could pick up on, Mr. Wendigo, who was out there in those woods. It's the same location, it's just farther down. And I was telling her about the guy, and she said it sounds like the soldier that is up guarding another part of the battlefield we were on. And she's like, I wonder if he knew you were coming out here, so I wonder if he tried to get in touch with you. So, little things like that. At St. Albans, that happened too. And I was in the bowling alley, and they know that I can talk to them, they can talk through me to them, to the other people. That was a crazy story. But yeah, they can take me over. I've come to realize the signs. Tiffany does now too. If I start rocking, it's almost like I'm going into a trance. And then that's how I know they're getting ready to try to use me. But yeah.
I'll have to be like, are you okay? Do we need to step out? I see you rocking. She goes, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
What about you, Tiffany? Do you have any abilities?
Nothing quite as significant as Rhonda. I can hear, so a little clairaudient, but it's not refined. All I hear is just mumbling. And like I'll hear them just talking or whatever, and I'll be like, "Did you guys hear that?" And they're like, "Hear what?" And I'm like, "I hear talking somewhere." And it mostly happens when I'm trying to lay down and go to sleep. You just hear, but, and I'm like, "Dear God, please stop! I just want to go to bed. I don't want to hear y'all mumbling." But like I said, it's not refined. I believe I'm too ADD to try to refine it right now, but every now and then I can pick up on that.
I've got a friend of mine. He's actually died twice in his life. So he's died twice, went to the other side and came back.
Oh wow!
And at 2 different times in his life. I mean, like 5-6 years apart.
Goodness gracious!
He has a heart. Yeah, he has a heart.
Do you tell him to stop doing that?
But he's got some crazy stories about what happened to him right on the other side.
Oh, I'm sure.
But he hears stuff now, right? Like all the time,
Hmm.
and he's like, I just
That's
don't
what
tell
they
people about
say.
it. Yeah, he
They
hears stuff.
say, like, if you have a near-death experience, you come back with abilities. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I ain't got no damn near-death experience, not that I know of, but
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Like you talked about, you didn't have the journal. He's the same way. He's like, if I don't write this down, I'll forget about it.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
he attributes that to
yeah.
his near death experiences because
Don't do that.
he says that he remembers memories leaving his mind.
Oh,
Wow.
Like yeah, like memories were leaving. He's like, I remember seeing pictures of my mom going and pictures growing up, growing. So he's got a real bad memory now. But
oh
that's pretty
wow.
crazy.
Wow.
But it's barely been an hour, guys. Just about an hour.
Oh
So,
wow.
and I appreciate you guys coming on. You guys want to give out your contact? It's up to you. Where they can find you guys, your pages, your channels.
Transcend Paranormal, you can find all of us there.
That's how you can
We'll
find
share.
us.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll share events, things like that. I'm sure Steve's told you before that our team likes to hook up with historical locations and raise money for these historical locations to keep up and running and help for preservation. So you can do that. I also have to plug it just because if I don't, I might get my butt kicked. I also work for Haunts of Richmond. We do historical ghost tours for downtown Richmond. So if you're in the Richmond area, look up Haunts of Richmond.
Oh,
As Rhonda gets
Cool.
attacked by a dog.
I'm getting mauled.
Megan, you got anything?
Nope, just Transcend Paranormal Facebook page, website. That's the best way.
What's your next investigation? You guys have anything coming up?
September 23rd, we're doing a joint investigation at the historic Ashland Theater and historic Hanover Arts and Activity Center in Ashland, Virginia.
Yes.
Thank you. The page is up. So anybody that's in Virginia, you can look at the Transcend page and find the event page and get tickets.
And I'll be selling my jewelry and other stuff during the day before we get there.
Yeah, tell them plug yourself, Rhonda.
What?
What you do, your jewelry and stuff. Plug it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can go on Instagram under Gypsy Siren 0412, and I do jewelry and resin and fun stuff like that. A lot of
She's got some
gemstone
really cool
jewelry.
stuff.
A lot of gemstones, a lot of rock and roll, pop culture, resin stuff, and fun stuff like that. Right, Diesel? Diesel's too busy. I don't know what he's doing. What are you doing, bud?
Well, cool beans, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on. You guys did a great job. And
Thank
I
you.
appreciate everybody in the chat room. You guys do a great job as always. And if you guys need to get in touch with them for whatever reason, do you guys do private investigations at all, like homes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you guys try to get in touch with them, you can't get in touch with me. I'll shoot them a message. Make sure you guys get some help if you guys need some help or just want answers. Sometimes I think that's what people really just want, just some answers. Hey, do I have a ghost or do I have raccoons in my attic?
Ooh, I got
Aliens.
We get to both.
Well, all right, everyone. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will see you next Monday. I have no idea who I have coming on, but I will definitely
We'll
promote
come on
that when I-
again.
Yeah,
If you
definitely.
don't have anybody else, just come and get us.
Yeah, definitely. We need to have some of your dolls and interview them. So that'd
I
be good.
can. I'll go get them. I'll line them all up for you.
Okay. Well, cool beans, guys. Yeah, man, definitely. I'd love to have you guys on again. You guys have a great night. Thanks for doing the show. And you guys hold on real quick, please.
All right,
And
thank you.
we'll end it right here.